Hey guys, I hope you're doing so well, and I have such a special episode for you today because I had the amazing ability to interview my beautiful friend Malaun Rice from Phoenix, Arizona. Malaun Rice injects passion in everything she does. After 10 years in corporate America, Malaun gave into her entrepreneurial learnings and founded mDrive, a company specializing in transforming lives and changing mindsets in order for people to discover how to live their best lives. Malaun then started Lioness Den, the non-profit arm of mDrive that focuses on building up women who have been victims of sexual crimes and abuse. Malaun helps them to build up their confidence and self-esteem and mentors women by helping them to step fully into their purpose. Rice knows that there is life after trauma, and she is wholeheartedly dedicated to her goal to extend a helping hand to women globally via transitional homes that promote healing as well as economic and professional development programs. Rice is a sought-after speaker, a transformational life coach, and holds a BA in business administration and holds a master's degree in marketing communication. She is a proud Chicago native currently residing in Phoenix, Arizona, who enjoys indulging her fashionista tendencies by shopping at local boutiques in between client meetings and doing good for womanhood. Wow, Malaun, that is probably the most inspiring and empowering bio I've had the opportunity to read out yet. So good to have you here, sister.
Well, thank you, Daisy. I appreciate it. We a whole 24 hours apart. I'm in America, you in Australia.
Yeah, of course. The pleasure is all mine. I'm so excited. So, Milan, let's get straight into it. So, I realize that you are an international speaker, and so I'd love to just open up this conversation with that question. What inspired you to get into speaking?
My background, some of the things that
Yeah.
I've been through in life. I went through an extensive healing process, and I know for a fact there are others out here like me. And I wanted to make sure that people have the tools that it's okay not to be okay, that you're here to live, not to just exist. So
Mm,
So those are the things that I want to help people do. It's
yeah.
all about a mindset shift. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but once you do it and you get on the other side, it is amazing. It is beautiful. And I'm not saying that you're going to be free of problems, free of, the world. That's not what I'm saying. You're going to look at it and then have a different scope of what it looks like, and you're going to execute and reply to things differently.
Thanks for that, Milan. So, really, your story of transformation, that's what inspired you. Your story of healing, that's what inspired you to become a speaker.
Here's the funny thing, I had no idea. So my
Yeah.
background is in marketing. I was a corporate America girl.
Yeah.
I worked at advertising. I worked for the federal government here for a little bit. I was in the entertainment industry for a little bit. And I was just, finagling my way through. But it was like maybe 2 months ago, I was going back looking at old pictures, and I was speaking all the time. And I was just like,
Nice.
I didn't even realize I was already doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I ran from my purpose a long time because I was like, I ain't about to do that. Have people talking crazy on social media, and you don't have to
Yeah.
stay here.
So true. Yeah.
So, but it's for the people who need what I have. People don't know what the tools are. So
Yeah.
that's mainly why I do what I do.
Yeah, for sure. And you primarily speak about your work and, healing and tools for transformation.
So basically, so people can understand what I was healing from, I was healing
Mm,
sexual assault, right? I was sexually assaulted at 10 years old. I was kidnapped off the street, sexually assaulted. Thank God I'm still here. And so as a child, that's a lot. I didn't know how
yeah.
to comprehend it, what
Mm,
to do with it. I didn't really, I'm a kid.
yeah.
I'm just trying to, play with Rainbow Bright and Barbies and live my life. I
Yeah.
didn't know that those things were going to happen, that was going to happen to me. So basically when it happened to me, I died in here. I didn't want to, it's like that 10-year old little girl, I left her where she was in that dark basement that I was held in for
Yeah.
hours because I didn't want
Interesting.
to feel that pain. It was too painful. It was scary. And I didn't
Mm,
want to go back to that. And what part of my healing was to go back to that. I had to go back to that to rescue myself, to figure out who
Mm.
I was supposed to be before
Mm.
all this trauma happened. Remember, I was went through hypnosis
Ah,
to remember where to look, to get to the little girl.
yeah,
I
interesting.
Yeah, so I saw her and it was dark in the room and she was just
Yeah,
kind of sitting on this stage by herself. And I was standing like it was like a movie theater. I was standing in the back and I was like, I
yeah,
ain't going in there. She could be
yeah,
with, and then I actually went in there after a little bit and I went in and I just hugged her, and just took my power back, first of all.
yeah,
Number and and started on the journey of figuring out defining who I wanted to be, who I needed to be
yeah,
for me first before I can even give to people out here in the world. So
yeah.
that's hugely important, to fill your cup up first before,
Mm.
and I know it's difficult with people who have spouses and children.
Mm.
We're taught to, especially with women, we're taught to give to everybody before we give to,
Yeah.
whether you are single, married, or not. I mean, women, period. We give to everybody. And so
Mm.
what I've learned in my journey is to fill my cup up first, because if my cup ain't filled, I can't help nobody.
Mm.
So as long as I keep my cup filled up, and people are like, well, how do you keep the cup filled up? Self-love. And I know people hear that and it's almost like a buzzword now. It's
Yeah.
annoying. But it's the truth. Self-love is how you fill up your cup. Whatever it is that you love to do it. Like today, this
Mm.
morning, I got up. I didn't want to because I don't like to exercise. I need to lose weight, so I got to exercise. I got to do something about it, right? So,
Mm.
what makes it more enjoyable living here in Arizona? There are mountains. There are all types of
Mm.
critters and and animals and people out walking their dogs. So I took a walk
Yeah.
for an hour this morning with my dad. We try
Mm.
to do it every other week, and I took a walk with him,
Yeah.
and we were just talking about everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's our quality time together. So, doing that, um, I love spending time with friends. I love having days when I shut down and do nothing for anybody but myself.
Mm.
Sometimes I don't answer my phone. I say no. You know, and every
Mm.
day you grow every day. I'm a different person
Mm.
than I was yesterday. I was a different person than I was this morning, because every time I learn
Mm.
something, you grow. So you're a different person. That's how I fill up my cup. But I really want people to understand who are, because I mean, there's nobody in this world who hasn't been through anything, right?
Mm.
So you have to understand that you don't have to stay there. You just
Mm.
don't. You don't have to
Mm.
stay there. It's not required for you to, be sad, be depressed. You don't have to. You can change your life. You really can. And
Mm.
I don't think people understand that your mind is so strong.
Mm.
The thoughts that you have in your head, you can believe them if they're negative, but I choose to replace the negative thoughts with positive thoughts. Was it 2 years, or it definitely was a year? When I used to drive to work, when I was working at this one place, I used to listen to affirmations for an hour, going to work, coming home from work, and going to sleep, just listening to it,
Yeah.
and just feel, because your mind is going to catch what it needs. So,
Yeah.
and I did that, and it was really a breakthrough for me. But I also had to deal and do the inner work. So I don't want people to
Mm.
think that this is a cup of tea. It's not. You have to
Mm.
you have to do the work. And
Yeah.
I'm a huge advocate for therapy. I really am.
Oh, for
There's nothing
sure.
wrong with therapy.
Yeah.
You need the extra help, and with
Mm.
both of us being life coaches, what we do, so people can understand, is we push you to your greatness. We're not the ones to sit and necessarily analyze what you have been through, but we listen to what you've been through, and based off of what we've been through, we share our tools with you
Mm.
and share with you how our journey has been, so you can also live the same, you know
Mm.
a fruitful life like we are. But, do understand that we still have our journey too. It's been a journey for me, and I wouldn't trade it in for the world, actually. Healing is so euphoric, just to see yourself grow. Like
Yeah.
when I look at pictures of myself, even 2 years, 10 years down the line, I look like a different person. Everything has opened up for me. I look different, right? Take care of yourself first and fill up
Mm.
that you can give to others. So you can,
Mm.
live your life. You don't, like I
Mm.
said before, you don't want to just exist. And a lot of people don't even know they're existing, because
Mm.
I also admit that at one point I was a functionally depressed woman. I was just crashing. Everything was just like my mind was like,
And when was that,
right?
Milan? That was in your 20s? In your
No, that was in my 30s. I'm 46 now. And yeah, I was like 32, thirty,
got you.
32 when I
Got you.
crashed. And I was depressed. How I knew I was depressed. So I took a lot of alcohol, when I in my 20s or 30s to kind of make me not feel.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
didn't want to feel all of that. So I drank a lot. That was in my 30s. Yeah, I was to everybody else. It was like, because I had a great job. I lived in a
Mm.
very affluent community in Chicago, and I was traveling for work, and I was in grad school. I had this, the life, I guess, what people
Yeah.
think. But inside, I was miserable. A friend of mine was like, "What is your problem?" She was like, "You never come out the house. You
Mm.
always at home. It's 90 degrees in Chicago. Chicago is a tundra most of the year. And I'm at home sitting in the bed watching TV, eating macaroni and cheese and potato chips, just at home.
Yeah.
And I was functioning, but I was depressed, like
Mm.
really depressed. And so
Mm.
I got help, understand who I was,
Mm.
understand, make a conscious decision to understand
Mm.
who God was for myself.
Yeah.
So I had to do that. I needed to stop listening to who people said he was and
Mm.
form a relationship with him and ask him questions, ask him to show me. And let me tell y'all out here, when you
Yeah.
ask, you better be ready because he's gonna show you. He's not gonna give you anything you can't handle.
So you mentioned that you kickstarted your healing journey at 32. So were you unconscious of this trauma that happened to you when you were 10? Just
No,
do
no,
it.
no. I knew exactly what happened to me.
Got you.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I went
Yeah.
because this person served time in jail.
Yeah, got
I
you.
went to
Okay.
court for it. I mean, I saw him, because I had to testify in front of him, which is so
Yes.
traumatic to me. And I'm
Yeah.
glad that here in the United States they have made laws and things for children where we don't have to go through that. That was in the 80s when that happened. So I'm glad that they have
Yeah.
better things now that children who have been sexually assaulted don't have to go through that. And I'm so happy for that.
Yeah.
All my life I was totally aware of what happened to me. Yeah, all
Sure.
my life. So, when I got to be a teenager, I was angry because I didn't know what to do
Sure.
with what I felt. And, my parents did take me to therapy, but it wasn't effective because he was a man. And I wasn't about to trust another adult man to tell him anything,
This is
So
interesting. Yeah.
even though my parents were sitting right there, both of them were there with me, and I was like, mm-mm.
Was that a theme for you throughout your life, that mistrust towards men?
Absolutely,
Yeah, for
yes,
sure.
absolutely. I can honestly say, even to this day, the traumatized version of myself sometimes pops out with men because it's
Yeah.
a safe haven. It's
Mm.
a wall that I build to keep myself safe. And
Yeah.
do I think that every man on the earth is a rapist? No, you know,
Mm.
but my mind, like my therapist always tells me, my mind remembers the trauma. So my
Mm.
mind automatically goes saying that's a man, but I'm more
Yeah.
vulnerable now, because I had to tell myself literally that every man is not bad. They're not a
Yeah.
rapist. I haven't even
Yeah.
met every man in the world. So I can't say that,
Yeah.
and so I just equated, because I had bad relationships, not
Yeah.
understanding that, some of that was me,
Mm.
I had to
Mm.
take the responsibility, but because I was in victim mode, I was
Mm.
like, oh, it's his fault and he's this and he doesn't want to do that. But it was me too, because I didn't know how to communicate my feelings properly. So I'm learning, see, I mean, because you have triggers all your life. You're gonna be triggered. It is
Yeah.
what it is. And so I'm learning to deal with those triggers. And
Yeah.
luckily, the men that I have in my life now, all of them understand that. And, they treat me like a rose petal. They like, okay, we get it. But it's not to say that they don't hold me accountable for things, but they understand. They approach me differently.
Yeah, I want to honor you, and I just want to say thank you so much for being so open and sharing this with the community. And I can really resonate with you, especially what you mentioned about acting out from that trauma response from that past situation. Because yeah, when I was around 6, a situation happened with me as well, and it left me feeling very powerless. And from then on, from every situation that occurred in a similar situation with a man well up into my 20s, I would act out in the exact same way. I'd be powerless. If any type of feeling arose within me, I'd literally run from any type of relationship, from any type of feeling. And I would constantly self sabotage these relationships. And a belief began to form in my mind that relationships equal pain. And so, in order for me never ever to experience that pain, I would literally run. I'd run, sabotage. And I knew then, in my mid 20s, mid to late 20s, I had to have a good look at this. If I was ever going to experience love, if I was ever going to experience connection, if I was ever going to experience intimacy, I had to take a really good look at this, because this wasn't normal. I looked at my friends, and their relationships were absolutely blossoming, and also my own siblings. And I'm like, this isn't normal the way I'm showing up to relationships. This isn't normal the way that I'm interacting with men. And so it was at that moment when I began to question. I began to question that I wanted more for life. I wanted more for my life. I knew there was another way of living. I saw how happy my friends were, and I wanted that. I wanted intimacy. I wanted relationship. And I knew I was worthy of that. And so the moment when I began questioning, that was the moment, I set forth on the self-development journey of really having a good look at this trauma and these beliefs that I picked up as a result, beliefs around men, beliefs about relationships. And with different NLP and hypnosis has been an absolute blessing, and life coaching as well. I've been able to unravel, relearn, remember the truth of who I am, right? Like you mentioned, it can be quite challenging and frightening to look at. However, for me, it'd be way more frightening not to look at this, because of how beautiful my relationships are today as a result of going there. And realizing that that was in the past. I'm no longer there anymore. That girl, that little girl, she is safe, and she's living right through me now. Being a transformational life coach, speaking, hypnotist, that little girl, she is thriving. She is right here, right now, living through me. So that's something to be very conscious of as well, that we are the victor, that we won, that we are right here, right now, sharing our gifts with the world. What's even more important, in my opinion, is that if we believe that thoughts create our emotional state, and our emotional state is what attracts situations and circumstances and really our dreams and goals to us, then if we are living from the past, remembering and reminiscing over this trauma, then those thoughts are creating the emotional state, right here, right now in the present, especially if we haven't gone there, healed that, and allowed the energy and the trauma to move throughout our nervous system. That same trauma kept me playing the exact same thoughts throughout my mind. As a result, that created the emotional signature. As a result, whenever I'd come up to a situation with a man, a similar situation, or any type of relationship, that would get triggered. Those same thoughts would trigger the same emotional response. As a result, I'd act out in the exact same way, whether that would be completely like running, suppressing my emotions, and just sabotaging the whole thing. And I wondered why I just wasn't moving forwards in my life with men. I wondered why I wasn't moving forwards in my life with relationships.
Not to say that it's irrelevant that what happened to you. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that if you keep focusing on that, then that's where you're going to stay. Right.
Mm.
So you have to be able to move forward and fight the
Mm.
thoughts in your head. That's the biggest thing to move forward. You got to fight. You got to be resilient. You got to keep going. You got to do it if you don't feel like it, what the thoughts of your head
Yeah.
wants to do is want to pull you down, and they want to,
Yeah.
take you out, so you have to push through it. And that's what I did. No matter
Mm.
how offended I was, how mad I was, all
Yeah.
the things, I still pushed through it, and so for me, I'm a processor, right? So
Mm.
I hear something like my therapist, I'm still in therapy even to this day. My
Mm.
therapist would say something to me, and sometimes I got to process it. I'm like, okay,
Mm.
I process that. Like you said, you are a victor. You are an amazing person. We have gotten to know each other over the last year, and I see you all the time. We support each other on each other's platforms, and
Yeah.
amazing person. And now, a lot of times I wonder why people are connected to me, and now I know why.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, when it comes to your own healing journey, you mentioned forgiveness was a big part of your healing journey, forgiving him for yourself. How did you do this?
the man who raped me, he got out of prison, raped another young lady, and went back to prison. So I used to check on the internet. In America, we have you could check the prisons and see
Mm.
where they are, and all that. So occasionally I would check. So he's out of prison now. He's like, I don't know, same age as my dad. So
Mm.
um, I wrote him a letter, actually. I wrote him a letter while he was in prison because I wanted closure. I wanted to know why he did that to me. And I was prepared to go visit him in jail, like literally. And so I wrote
Wow.
him a letter, and he wrote me back, and at least he said he didn't remember. I don't know if he really didn't remember me. He said he didn't remember me, but he told me that he gave his life to Christ, and he's a different man. So hopefully that's true. I really honestly don't wish anything ill on him. I don't hate him. I forgave him for it was fine. What I needed came through that. So
Yeah.
that's all I need. I needed to understand to forgive him, but also understand that I'm hoping that what he said was true, so he can help men like him who are sick, touching little girls, and taking women and traumatizing women. I hope he did give his life to God so he can help other men not do what he did to me. Yeah,
Thank you for sharing all that, Milan. Like,
yeah,
really, thank you so much.
yeah.
Um,
No problem. I mean, I just want
mm.
people to be free of
Mm.
all the shame, the guilt, you
Mm.
know, the doubting, the self worth, the lack of self worth, the lack of
Mm.
confidence, all those things I had, and nobody knew that.
Yeah, and you being such a leader in this field and really speaking out and bringing this non-negotiable conscious conversation to the forefront, really literally creating a paradigm shift, is deflating a lot of the shame and the guilt that does come with sexual abuse. So yeah, well done, sister. You, like I mentioned, you are a leader in this field. I wanted to ask a little about therapy. We spoke a lot about therapy during the first beginning of this podcast, and I wanted to ask you, Milan. So for me, like, therapy is non-negotiable. I am an absolute advocate for therapy, whether it's different types of therapy like hypnotherapy, and then you've got the life coaching and the psychology. I wanted to ask you, if someone was looking for a therapist, how, like, what tools and tips would you give them in order for them to connect and align with the best therapist for them?
Okay, I'm gonna be 100% honest. Okay,
Mm.
um, if so, for me, like I said, when I was a kid, when I was 10 and my parents took me to therapy, they weren't, and I'm not blaming my parents at all because they were just trying to do the best for me. So what
Yeah.
they did is they took me to a therapist, which is what they should have done. But he was a man, he was an adult man, and I wasn't trying to talk to an adult man.
Mm.
So if you feel more comfortable with a woman, if your abuser was a man, then maybe you should try a woman. Um, if you are a person of color, we have different layers to us, okay? Especially
Mm.
in the United States. We
Mm.
have racism, we
Mm.
deal with a lot of things here. So, talking to a therapist that's not a
Mm.
person of color who wouldn't understand why I feel the way I do as a Black woman in America could
Yeah.
not help me. And that does not mean that they're not a good therapist. They just can't help me. So if
Yeah.
you're a person of color, a Black or brown person, my suggestion is find a Black or brown therapist so they can
Mm.
understand what you're saying. Okay.
Mm.
Some people prefer Christian therapists, and find that, because get that, so
Mm.
find what works for you. Every therapist,
Mm.
I don't know if they do that there, Daisy, but here in the United States, every therapist says what they specialize in: trauma, family care,
Mm.
drug addiction, all of that stuff,
Mm.
alcohol abuse. They say what they specialize in. So you find the ones that specialize in what your trauma is,
Mm.
and they will be able to help you dig deep. A therapist is going to have you do work, okay, inner work, because
Yeah.
that's where everything starts. It starts within yourself. Because I was a victim, I blamed everybody. I was like, "That's his fault. That's her
Yeah.
fault. She should." And it was like, "No. So how did you say this, or what
Mm.
was your reaction? And do you think that was the right thing to say?" They ask you questions and be like, "Maybe I shouldn't have did that or say
Mm.
that." That you're gonna have to do some inner work.
Mm.
People be like, "It didn't work." Well, did you do the work? Did you do the assignments? Because they're gonna give you assignments. They'll tell you certain things to do. So are you gonna do it? So
Yeah.
and do it when you're ready. You know,
Mm.
we're advocates for it. We're not pushing you into it. We're encouraging you to do
Yeah.
it because we know how it helped us and how
Yeah.
it's helping us. So definitely, get into it. What I tell people is, I'm not a therapist. I will tell you if you come to me that if I think you need a therapist, because what life coaches do, we push you to your greatness.
Yeah.
We push you, we encourage you to do more. We give you stuff to do. I don't want to say we don't dig deep. We're not going to sit and dig deep, from your childhood. These are just conversations we're having, let you know where our expertise comes from.
Mm.
So we're not going to sit and talk to you about where your trauma started from. We'll
Mm.
listen. Don't get me wrong, and then we'll ask you some questions, and then we'll give you some things to do. It's
Mm.
based on how we learn, the tools that we have, you know.
Mm.
So I do want people to understand the difference. And like
Mm.
for me and both of us, we both have a therapist and a life coach. Both of us do.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
and we need them for different reasons, So
Yeah.
as you define who you are, then you can define what you need. Some people don't go to therapy. They think having a life coach is just fine, and that's okay. And some people say, "I do want to go to therapy, and then I come back to life coaching if I need it," and that's fine too. We want you to have what works for you.
Yeah, I do feel this is an important conversation, and I 100% agree with you with what you said, defining the difference between a life coach and a therapist's role. And that's why I teamed the two. So I'm a life coach and also a hypnotherapist. So I do that deep transformational work and creating change on a neurological level. And then what I found is that when we create space and freedom in our energetic fields and we heal our nervous system from the past and from trauma responses, then we deep dive and we tap into our soul's deeper yearnings and our soul's higher vision for our lives. And that's when we ask those deeper questions, right? Like, what are our desires for this lifetime? What are our dreams for this lifetime? Where do we see ourselves in the next year, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years? So this is actually where I feel that perhaps life coaching is going. We are teaming the two. We are doing that deep transformational work, really progressing forwards towards the higher vision for our life, towards the higher purpose for our life.
Yeah, and some
Um,
therapists are like, my therapist is a life coach as well. So some
yes.
they do both.
Yeah, it's a really powerful team and it's becoming more and more common. So Milan, just switching gears now, what do you specifically niche in and how do you help women heal from trauma?
Some people who have had trauma, when I talk about mindset, they come to me, and they're like, "Well, so how do I get here?" And I find out different things about them. Like, okay, I get it. So when I'm on stage, I do tell my story. I've also, like I said, I'm a corporate America. I came out of corporate America, so I know what's going on in corporate America too. So I've done a couple webinars this year already.
Mm.
Um, with corporate America, just dealing with mindset, business owners, because we're business,
Mm.
how to get past 2020. I also have spoken here in Arizona. We have an organization that I partner with called the Arizona Coalition to End Sexual and Domestic Violence, focused on people getting the tools that they need. I
Mm.
can't emphasize that enough. And, making sure that they understand what to do. So I haven't been
Yeah.
under hypnosis for a while. Maybe I need to go
Yeah.
back in there to see what's in there that I'm hiding, that I'm
Oh, we
there.
can definitely make that happen. So,
Yes.
So, Milan, how can people get in contact with you and book a consultation or a session?
Social media right now, because I am rebranding my website and everything right now. So all of that is shut
nice.
down. So you can find me on Instagram with my first and last name, Malaun Rice, RICE, or you can find me on Facebook, same. And you can follow me. I put a lot of inspirational quotes. I tell the truth. I don't sugarcoat anything.
Yeah.
I tell the truth. So I tell my friends, well, if you don't want to know the truth, don't ask me. Because I'm gonna
Mm.
tell. I spend a lot of time making sure people uplifted, feeling
Yeah.
positive.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't always feel that. So when I post it for you guys and you guys respond back, that actually helps me, too. Because as life coaches, we give a lot to a lot of people, and sometimes we don't get it in return, which is not complaining, just saying, it's great when we see people respond back. That'll be great. To
Yeah.
see you just say, good job, love it, for both of us, we need to
Yeah.
see that.
Right on, sister girl. So I'll put all that information down on the show notes for everyone to get in contact with you. Milan, it's been an absolute pleasure and a joy having this conversation, and it's so interesting. So this podcast is quite new, and when I first got this podcast up and running on iTunes, the first person who I wanted to interview was you. So thanks so much for being a part of this podcast. It's been an absolute joy.
But I also want people out there to know this is not going to be the last time we work together. I'll be in Australia one day soon.
Yes.
And
yes.
we'll have something. We'll do something together.
What an amazing and an inspiring woman. So if you want to get in contact with Malaun Rice, and head to the show notes and all the information will be down there. Have an amazing day and thanks for tuning in.